Hello everybody, thanks for joining me on Midweek Masterpiece to paint the lion to go with the giraffe. I almost said zebra. I got zebra on the brain. We're gonna have to paint a zebra. So right now we're gonna work on the lion. I haven't painted this before, so this will be a lot of fun. And usually I do at least a run through, try to figure out if I can paint it quickly. This might take a little time, and depending on the fur and how you want to do the fur, I'm going to be using, oh gosh, I have craft paints to professional paints, and when we get done, I'll post everything down below so that you'll have it and you can go through it with me. But let's go ahead and get started on painting this beautiful lion and get ready to go. So I have a 16 by 20 to match the giraffe. And I've already painted it a light blue, and there's a little bit of weird white showing through, which is fine. But I had something else on here that I didn't want. So I just put a generic light blue, gosh, craft paint like baby blue color on it, just to get started. And it's not going to matter what's in the background. We'll make it whatever we want. So I'm going to have to get the giraffe. So here is the giraffe. And this is in a little bit different perspective. So you see the mountains behind there, and you see the trees way low because he's so tall. And then we've got the lion, which is a little different because the trees are way up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint in the mountains instead of the sky on the lion. I'm going to paint in the mountains up here, and then put the trees and then the grass. So at least he looks like he's not on the same level, but in the same area. And that way when we hang them, he can be looking up at the giraffe. So I kind of just thought that would kind of be a good idea. We will see how it works. Sometimes my ideas don't work too well. So let's go ahead and get started on the first colors. Let's start with let's do the mountains. Now the mountains are kind of a dark color. They've got, I want to show you. On the original we did a little dark blue, some purples, greens, which I actually made out of the yellow and the blue, and then a little pink at the bottom. And then of course that's kind of a mango color, and I believe that was a craft color, and I'll get that for you too. So we're going to start with the mountains, and I'm going to start with some Phthalo Blue, and let's use some titanium white. And let's see, I've got some craft paint, Americana Lemon Burst, which I think is real pretty. It's real bright. And that'll make us some green. As for the pink, let's just take a generic craft paint, and let's use, what is this? This is Christmas Red. And it is Crafter's Choice. I think that's actually Dollar Tree. So we're just going to try to mix everything and make it work out for us. And let me get my palette, and I'll show you how I've got it set up and how we're going to blend things to get our colors. Start with, I just have this on a little plastic container. You can tell there's already paint on there in the background, but I've got the yellow, red, blue, and white. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take a 1-inch flat brush, and we're going to make a little bit of, I guess a little bit of the blue. And you know what? I added a little white. But we are going to need a dark brown as well. So let me grab a dark brown. So I have a Espresso Bean dark brown craft paint from Crafter's Collection. I think that really is Dollar Tree. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of the brown. See, I want the blue to be darker. I just don't want to use black because it just will absorb all that color. So let's put a little brown in there. And a lot more blue, maybe a touch of white. I'm just trying to get that color. I really want that dark, kind of a grayish blue. So that's about kind of right. Then what I'm going to do is the mountains. So the sky is right here on the painting on this one. So that's about maybe a fourth of the way down. So let's say we're going 1, 2, 3, 4. That's in quarters. So the mountains are going to be about right here. And I do like painting the sides. So we're just going to paint in some quick mountains. And I'm just going to do the little triangles. It's the easiest way. And let's just go straight across here like so, just to get my line. And I'm just going to decide where I want my mountains and how I want them to look. So I'm going to use a little water because the paint does get dry quick. And let's do another mountain here off to the side, and we'll give it a shadow. And you're going to hear my dog. And we'll put a little one here, maybe go longer. And then maybe here. Let's do that one coming off to the side. I am just making some little mountains wherever I want to make them. No rhyme or reason, and we'll make this one taller and off to the side. So I got my mountains in the background. We're going to kind of make these guys disappear anyway. Again, I need a little bit of water for my paint. Sometimes the craft paints really need a little bit of water. It's real hot and dry here today. Well, not real dry, but it's hot. A little bit of humidity, not much. So let's just go like this. And we'll put this one in the background. So let's make him, we're going to go ahead and keep him this color. And this guy he'll be in the background, way in the back. So we're going to keep him dark. And the rest of them we're going to change up a little bit. I think I'm a little off kilter on my line, so let's redraw that. Kind of like that, just so I'm right in the ballpark. And alrighty, so that's a good start. I am gonna rinse my brush, and let me back that up a little. I don't know if you can see it all. Sorry about that. Oops, it's too tight. Let me fix my camera. I don't have the best setup, but it works for me when I'm painting. Okay, how's that? A little better? Okay, that's a little better. Now the next color, let's get the next color started. So the next color, let's add a little bit of yellow to that blue. And let's make it a little greenish color, a dark green color. So the back side of the mountain is this way to me. So I'm gonna put the lighter color over here. And I'll block it off maybe about right here. So it looks like that is the front of the mountain, and that's kind of sliding off into the shadows. So there's the green. And again, if you need to mix more, add a little water. If it gets a little dry, just a touch of water. You don't want it runny. And I'm going to mix up some more green. And we're going to put it kind of on the front of the mountains here. It's a little darker, but that's fine. And this guy back here is going to be a shadow, and this guy's going to be a shadow. So we're going to treat those a little differently here in a minute. So we're going to get this done here. Okay, so we got kind of part of the sides here done. And this one we can do kind of the top because he is kind of facing that way. And so I went ahead and went over just that little shadow one with a little green. We'll probably leave it kind of like that. Let's straighten him up. Let me get some blue. And let's just kind of straighten him up a little bit. And then I'm going to go back over him with some green. So that was a mistake, easily rectified. This guy is in front, so we definitely want him to come down in front. And you notice the colors are already kind of spreading out a little. I got a little yellow showing, which is fine. So let's get this done up here. They don't have to be perfect. I mean, mountains are definitely not perfect. So then let's go ahead and add maybe just a little bit of the yellow, just a tad, and we'll just kind of put it in here a little bit, just lighten it up, just kind of barely touch it, maybe even up back there, and we're just going to kind of do it that way. Then I'm going to make some pink, so I'm going to add the red and a lot of white. Okay, and I think a touch of yellow and a touch of brown, just so it's not quite so hot pink. Yeah, so that's oops. So that's kind of a dull pink. And then we'll take it and we'll kind of put it into the mountains. And then what I want to do is I'm going to scrape that paint off because I want just a little bit of the pink showing through. We'll bring it all the way down here. And I'm just going to kind of blend it in. Now this is where I tend to go over things over and over until I am happy with the color. So I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of brown and yellow. And let's add a little bit of brown and yellow to this side of things. Alrighty, now we're kind of getting there. Alrighty, and then I'm going to use that same brown and yellow, and I'm going to go ahead and paint this one in kind of like a shadow back here. He's in the background, and when he dries, he'll be a little bit darker. Sorry about the dogs. Okay, so I'm not fond of the mountains, which happens a lot. I just don't like them. So I'm going to take some brown, and I'm going to pull it, and I'm going to kind of redraw them. I'm going to incorporate that one into it. So you're going to see in the final painting that this is really just one big mountain. On this side, a little more brown. I'm just going to paint it brown so I can paint over it here in a minute. I'm going to curve the top. Mountains aren't perfect. And I'm going to take a little bit of the blue with the brown. I just added blue. And let's curve this down a little bit like that. And I'll make it a little blue on this side. And this one can be pointed, that's fine. And this one needs to be more round at the top, I think, because they just are not perfectly pointed, are they? So I took that dark blue and brown and just repainted my mountains, and I'll just kind of blend everything else into it like that. That's a little pointed, that's fine. No, it's not. I am gonna round that off. We'll make it bigger, round them off. Kind of like that. Bring them out a little further this way. All right. And I'm just using brown because we're going to go over it anyway. And we'll make that backside a little darker. Okay, so there. Now that's a little better. This one will come down like this in front of everybody. And I think that looks better. All right, see, so we can fix things on the fly. So your tracer that I'll have will show these mountains is round. Okay, there we go. Now we can start adding our colors back in. So now I've got blue and white and brown, and I'll show you the color. It's kind of a gray color, and I'm just going to go ahead and use that back here, mix with that brown, kind of be the back side of the mountain. And this can be, you know, that looks good blue. I didn't get much paint on there. And this one needs to be a little darker on that side. Let me do it a little bit more here. It's hard to see, it's kind of shiny with that light on. Might have changed my lighting here. Okay, so we'll make that. I had to get a little water. And this again is the blue, a little brown, and a touch of white, just to kind of give it almost a grayish blue color. Okay. And that's good. And what we will do is make this side will be lighter. I'm just kind of putting them all together there. Let's take a look at them here. Still a little shiny, and that's okay. I'm gonna leave that one dark because he's definitely in the background. But the ones up front, let's add a little of blue. Oops, sorry. Let's go like down this way. And just kind of blend that in. And then on this one, we're gonna do it this way. And kind of bring it, I'm gonna bring it down a little bit into this side like this. And we'll see how that looks when we get done. Kind of blend that in a little bit so it's not quite so blue. Alrighty, and then let's take a little yellow and blue and white, and let's make a bright colored green. Let's see what this looks like. It's a little blue, but that's all right. I'm just going to pull it in here on this side. And on this side, I'll pull it in here. And then on this side. We'll pull it in under here, almost to the top, and just kind of go back and forth. So I just took that blue-green color, put it on the mountains, put it underneath the dark here, and put it underneath the dark here, but kind of pulled that dark in. See how it kind of makes it look like it's sliding in that way. And it does not have to be perfectly straight, of course. And we'll just kind of blend that in. Okay. Okay, so now we need to brighten it up quite a bit. So I'm going to take the green and blue. We're going to make a light green. Okay, what my left over there, and we're going to put the light green here. And let's just brighten up the sunny side of the mountains. Like right here. This one's back there, but that's okay. We're going to brighten it up just a little. And then this guy actually needs to be brighter here, because this side is the side of the sun. We'll make a little more yellow. And I think I'm going to need to get a little more paint. That's too blue. Let's try that. Yeah, it turned out a little too blue. I'll add a little yellow to that. Okay. That's a little brighter. That's a little blue. I kind of like the blue. Okay. I'm just brushing that in there, just kind of blending that in there, barely touching it. Bringing that brown on down a little bit. Okay. And now we need to add a little pink. So we're going to take, I did not wash my brush. We're going to take the red and blue, oops, red and white. Make a pink, a light pink. And let's start blending that just into that bluish green. Just to give it a little color. Yeah, we'll just drag that on down there. And I just kind of want it to blend in. I don't want it to be really pronounced. Blend that in there, and this goes in the front. So there's my little mountain. Blend that in the front. Blend this a little more. Yeah, that's a little better. Now, let's take a little yellow. I've got the bright yellow. And I think what I want to do is, I'm going to go ahead and rinse my brush a little bit. I didn't get all of it out, but I rinsed it quite a bit. I'm going to take the yellow, kind of blend it in with this just a little. I don't want it to mix totally. I want the yellow to kind of stand out a little bit, even on this back guy back there. And a little yellow. Okay. It's hard to tell in the glare. Sorry about that. I have to check, make sure it's not glaring for y'all. And that's a little better. And I'm gonna leave that yellow there. I like that yellow there. Just a little. See how it kind of got right in there like that. And I kind of like that yellow like that. That looks nice. Okay. So there's my mountains off in the distance. And now we're gonna work on the sky. For the sky, I think I'm gonna use fresh mango. I believe it's color used on the not the zebra, the oh my gosh, the goldenrod, and those two yellow and a little bit of blue. Since I want this to be kind of sandy looking, or you know, it's like in Africa, I'm just gonna mix my two yellows here, and let's kind of put a little bit up in here. And just right around the mountains. I'm just kind of randomly mixing it, not actually making it perfect. Just kind of daubing it together so that both colors shine through. And I'll fix that. Actually, we might give it a little bit of sand over the top of the mountains too. Like we did in the other one, got a little dark. So we'll put the orange and yellow across the top. Or the mango and yellow across the top. It's not really orange. Sorry, you're hearing my German Shepherd breathe. He does not breathe quietly. Okay, we're gonna put that through there. And actually, if I drag my brush across, kind of bring that yellow into the top of the mountains, that looks pretty good. I'm just dragging it across there. It's an almost empty brush. I want to paint the outside of it. That's just something I do because I like the painting to be all the way around. And I'm going to use the brown and paint the mountains on this side and this side, just to make sure it's there. Okay, so now you've got the yellow and the mango mixed together. And let's go ahead and see what our next part is. So now I definitely want to bring the orange and yellow down this way. So he, the lion, it probably comes down not much, but I think what we'll do is that's 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe a quarter of the way. We'll bring that yellow down maybe a quarter of a way or so. Okay, from where we started on the mountains. So I'm going to mix the yellow and the mango, and let's just kind of stick it in here like so. And if it goes up on the blue, that's fine. It's kind of like sandy. And just go ahead and put it here. I'm going to go on the outside. Put it over there. Little mango. Can you see that? You can see that. Okay, and on the side. And we'll go down about to there. A little higher than that, but that's all right. We can fix that. And a little more yellow, mix with that mango. And what we might need to do here is, I think I'm going to add a little bit of the blue in here. See, there was red in that, and that's fine. You want to add red, add blue, whatever you want to do. This is your painting. Make it your painting. Do whatever colors you want. Let me do around the side. I'm just guessing. Okay, now I think, yeah, I'm going to take just a touch of blue, just a touch. And I'm going to blend it on in here, give it a little bit of green, and I'm going to really rub that in. Random brush strokes. I'm pressing pretty hard just to make it a little darker down here. And then I'm going to go back over it with my peach and yellow. Kind of blend that all in. See how it's real random and rough looking? So it's just a little darker. So there we go. Looks more like it's more towards the ground area. And this up here is okay. It kind of looks like it's, I don't know if I like that or not. So let me cover that solid. I don't know if you can see it was showing through pretty good. Okay, like that. And I think that is about far enough, but it needs to be a little darker. So I'm gonna add a little red and mango and yellow. And let's see if we can get this a little bit darker. A lot of red and mango and yellow. Let's see. Yeah. Make it a little darker over. I'm just gonna put this right over the top. And maybe with a little more red, a little darker orange. There we go. Maybe a little bit more. I might need to add a little more blue in here too. So let's add a little touch of blue. And rub that in. So this is just, I'm just guessing what I want it to look like. And You can have it look like however you want it to look like. So I just put some blue on here. Kind of looks a little weird, so let's go back over. This is just layering the different layers till I get the color I like. And I do kind of want it to be darker and moving. So maybe some more yellow, mango. All right. Yeah, okay. Now, we're gonna go up here. I'm gonna fix that spot that I messed up. And I don't care if there's a little bit of the canvas showing through. Looks good, looks like sky behind. Alrighty, now I'm going to let this dry before we add the lion. And before we add all the grasses and the trees, because I definitely don't want that to blend in. So, we'll let everything dry here, and we will be back and see what we can do. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, I noticed as I was trying to get this to dry, is I really want to add more of the pink color to the mountains. So I'm going to make it kind of a darker pink. You know, let's add a little blue and let's make it a little purpley. And it's not very much, it's just kind of a funny color purple. I just kind of want to brighten them up just a little. And maybe then add a little bit of just the pink, the red and white. Let's see what happens there. I want to blend that together. It's a little too pink, so if I just take my finger and scrape it in there, that's much better. And then maybe over here. Yeah. Do it like that and make this side a little lighter. Yeah, because the other mountains with the giraffe are definitely lighter in color. And that's okay, they don't have to be exact. I just kind of want the similar colors on there, on both of them. So they don't have to be together, but they can be without clashing. Okay, so we will do that. Leave those mountains a little more pink. Okay, so what I did was, I took the picture. If you're drawing with me, this applies. If you're using the tracer, it does not, of course. But I took it, I kind of split it into quarters, and up here I went into thirds so that I could know where all the pieces should be within the squares. So on this one, since I put mountains, I did not come down far enough. It should have come down about right here to be a quarter, but I decided I'm gonna leave it like it is. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna use, let's use some dark brown and blue. We're gonna mix it up, make a dark color, more brown than blue. And this tree starts a little below my quarter mark. So here's the quarter mark, and maybe about right here. So it's gonna start here, and it's gonna come up off the canvas. It's gonna come up off the canvas above the quarter mark. So here's the quarter mark. So we're gonna put it here, and let's just bring this down, bring that down, and then we'll bring it like this and make that stump. And then we're gonna go out like this, bring this one in. Of course, it's a tree, it's not perfect. And then this one actually kind of goes this way and joins there. A little bit more paint. And let's go out. So there's a third right there. And it goes about 2/3 of the way out, I guess, for this long limb right here. We're gonna put that there. And of course they can be anywhere you want them. And off of this one comes another one like this. And then like this. And then it kind of goes up in here and then down like this. Okay, so there's our first tree right in front of the mountain. So what I'm going to do is, let's take a little bit more darker brown and just a touch more blue. Get a really dark brown going here. And let's kind of paint this in how he should be painted in. Kind of fill him in a little bit. I need a little water. Not too much. Don't want it to start dripping on me. And of course it does not, again, have to be perfect because trees are definitely not perfect. I just kind of want it filled in. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to match the other painting. This one shows that it's in the shadow, so it's dark. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some, if I can find it here, let's use a couple of greens. I'm going to use Fairway Green, which is pretty bright, and Avocado Toast. Okay, I know they're kind of weird colors, but let me get them on my palette real quick. And what we're going to do is take these colors, just a little bit of each, and we're going to make the green we want. So now I'm going to take a little bit of each green, right? Let's kind of blend that together. And now it's kind of an interesting green, a little more olive green. I want it to be a little darker. And a little brown. Okay, olive green, a little bright green, and some brown. Oops, there's more brown, which is good. And a little bright green and a little brown. I'm trying to get that right color green I like. And that'll do for now. I'm just going to take my little 1/4 inch Filbert and I'm just going to touch it up here. So the trees are kind of flat across the top. Flat across the top. So we're going to take it and kind of go, just touch it, kind of go flat. Not perfectly flat, but kind of make it flat across the top like so. And it goes out to the end here. And I'm just dabbing it on there. And then I'm going to get a little more of that green. And it kind of goes down in here a little bit. Down in here. And then it kind of pops out a little over here. And I know I'm making it go way too far over the 1/4 that or the 1/3 that I marked it, but that's okay. It should come to be about there. But I just wanted a big tree here. So I'll put that there. Okay. So here's the 1/3 mark. So it should be over here and he's way over here. But I'm going to move the line down a little bit to be under the tree. So that'll work too. So now I'm going to take that brown and blue color. And these guys are shadows. So we're just going to kind of put them in here. Just a long, thin, and then it's just going to kind of be dark, flat top. And then over here, it's just like a little dark, flat top, like another tree. And we can, let's leave those like that for now. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little of the red and a little bit of the yellow and make a kind of an orange color here, if it works out. And I didn't wash my brush, so I have all sorts of colors in it, but I kind of want to give it these shadows here. So kind of a little darker here, and it goes up here like so. Just to give it some shadow. And we'll bring it all the way down here, like so, and off to the side. And that's okay. If it blends in with the brown, that's all right too, because we're going to put some grasses in there. And so there's my orange for the background there. Alrighty. So now we have to think about where we're going to start putting things. So I've got a 1/2 inch Filbert, and I think we'll start with this up here. So the grasses up here are kind of a red and yellow, and you can kind of see them. So I'm gonna go red and yellow together, not quite make it orange, but I'm gonna start at the tree and just kind of start putting some grasses in with some lines with my brush. Just put it down, pull it up, let it go, okay? And we'll let those grasses go, the red grasses, wherever we want them. Bring them in a little bit over here. Oops, my bottom of it's not quite dry yet. So, let's just put this on hold for a minute longer and we'll finish it as soon as I'm dry. So part of doing this with everyone watching and not wanting to change anything or not wanting to redo it, I'm gonna make this a little more blue up here to match my other painting. So I'm gonna mix it with a little bit of the two greens, a little bit of the blue, and we'll make it a little more blue-green, okay? And that way we'll fill it in pretty good. The other one's not quite filled in, but the other painting, they're further away. So let's kind of fill this in with this bluish color to kind of make it, even though they could be separate paintings and don't have to be held up together or hung up together, I'm sorry, then I still want them to look kind of alike because I'll probably put mine together. Okay, and then you've got that, and I just kind of filled it in a little thicker. Alrighty, and a little, because it's flat across the top, and then it cuts down here like so, and maybe a little down here. Again, I made this tree bigger than it should be, but you know, that's your prerogative. You don't have to put in a tree if you don't want to. So there's that. Now I'm going to rinse off my brush, and I'm sorry, I'm using a round brush right now because it's the first one I grabbed. It's just a round brush. Can you see that? And it's a number 8. And what I want to do is, this should be a little more yellow. So I'm going to take a little yellow and a little bit of that mango, and let's just kind of go in here and make it a little more yellow. Now, the background of mine is still wet, so it's going to kind of blend in a little bit there, which is kind of what I wanted, was to kind of just make it a lighter color right here, because this is more of what he looks like, his background looks like. So I got a little bit of orange and a little bit of yellow, not orange, but the mango. And I'm going to put it in here and cover up those. We'll go this way a little bit. Yeah. And so that's a little different color. Let's add a little more yellow maybe. Kind of want it to be a little brighter, not too much brighter, because I don't want it to stand out there. So we'll do that. And see, mine's still a little wet. So I'm going to have to get it dried out here. So we'll do that. Then I want a little orange. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use orange. We're going to use bright orange. Again, it's just, this is Crafters from, I think, Dollar Tree. Oh, shoot, it is really runny. So we're going to see if this works. So I'm going to take some of the orange, and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of that yellow to come up with a duller orange color. And we're just going to kind of put it in here under here. And we're going to start changing the color slowly into orange here, just so it's a little different on the background. Orange and yellow. Yep, a little orange here because the other one has some orange in it also. And let's see, we'll do a little, maybe a little more orange, maybe with a little red. Let's see what that looks like. Let's see if that's okay. And we're just going to kind of put in a darker shadow here a little bit, just to kind of give it a little bit of personality. And you can tell mine's wet, so it's going to have some texture, which I don't mind at all. But this is a little orange and red, just to kind of darken it up a little bit through here. Kind of give it a little personality here. Yeah. Oops, let me cover that. I don't like that look. I think the lion's going to be around there anyway, so we're good there. And then I think down here we're going to have a little green and orange mixed. So let me just add a little more of the reddish orange, maybe down in here. I'm just scribbling it on there, scrubbing it on there. And you can see there's other colors in my paintbrush, and that's fine too. Just a little more orange. So what we're gonna do is we'll have yellow and green in front of this. We're gonna put those grasses back in, a little bit of them. And I just didn't like how it was starting to look, even though it's gonna look a lot different when we're done. But that's a good start. So here's the beginning of the background. Now the lion, we moved him down. So really he's in the second quarter, like about to here. And his mane's gonna come up here and around off the canvas. So pretty much everything from here is gonna be covered with the lion. Okay, and then down to about right here. Because he ends right in the middle. Okay, so we are going to, this time, I'm gonna let it dry, and y'all let yours dry. I'm gonna get a cup of coffee, and we'll be back, thanks to the magic of filming, back in about 10 seconds. Okay, so I moved things around a little bit. Hopefully you can see it a little better. So now I just want to work on the grasses in the background. Like these grasses, they're not really grasses. It's just kind of pretend grasses, right? Till about here. And they're orange and red. So I'm taking that 1-inch flat, and it's pretty dry. See how it's rough? And I'm going to dip it into the orange and the red. Let's just get a little orangey red color here. About 50-50. Mine's kind of getting dry. Let me add a little water. Yeah, good dark orange. And I'm just going to take it. I'm going to barely touch the canvas. Now let's just kind of put some, I'm touching up. Touch, pull up, touch, pull up. And I'm just going to add a little bit of the bright orange grasses here. Okay, so I kind of got interrupted with the phone call, and that kind of messed up things, but I'm going to change course, and I'm going to use this little, I don't know, it's like a 1-inch fan brush. It's a little bitty one, and I'm going to lightly dip it in the orange and the red and the orange, and let's just kind of put these up in here a little longer, and I'm going to go about right there, I guess, to that last tree. And then I'm going to get a little yellow, and I'm going to run some yellow up in there. And we're just kind of putting in some tall grasses. So the closer they get, I'm going to make them a little longer. So a little orange, a little yellow. Let's just run them together here. And I'll put them in over there. Make them a little longer. It's hard to see. Okay, sorry about that. A little orange, a little yellow. Of course, back here they don't get too long because that's kind of further away. Not kind of, it is. And of course, the closer it gets, the more longer they are. So now I'm just barely pushing on it and just dragging it up and letting it come off the canvas. And it's not perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just a little orange and yellow. A little yellow through here just to get a little change in color. I just kind of like want it to look like little, like some grass. Kind of almost dead grass, I guess, really, but, just orange and yellow grass. Pretty grass. Okay. Orange and yellow, and I'm just going to bring it down to here, to the orange spot. And now I'm going to take a little bit of my 2 greens that I've had out. I'm going to mix them together and get that green color again with a little brown. I'm sorry, the greens and a little brown, maybe a little blue. Okay, kind of a weird, kind of an olive color. And I'm going to turn my brush up and down, and I'm just going to do some long strokes here. Well, maybe not. I'll do it wide. And kind of through here, because the green is kind of growing up into there. And then the further we get down here, a little thicker lines. Then I'm going to backfill that with a little orange and yellow. Let's See, I still have the green on my brush, which is good. It changes colors a little bit. A little yellow. Green. And that's just because it's on my brush. Okay. So now we have kind of an interesting looking field, and we have some greens up in there. I'm just adding some greens, kind of thinning this out a little. I'm going to take yellow and go over that just a little bit to thin out those green strands that got real thick there, which happens. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and get my 1-inch brush back out, my 1-inch flat. It is washed, and I'm going to get the blue, and I'm going to add just a touch of brown, and we're going to make a little darker blue. Now, he's going to come about midway, something like this, I think, roughly. So I'm going to just go over here and put this in here, blue. Blue and brown, make it dark, especially further down. I need a little water. So especially further down here, it's going to be a little darker because it's kind of in the shadows. You can kind of see the brown, which is fine. I'm just going to fill this in here. Blue and brown. And it's dark. And I'm just scrubbing some in and just painting up and down. Every which way. It's kind of wild down there. And we are going to get all this covered in blue. I need some more water. I'm gonna have to get some more paint here in a second. Okay, that's a little lighter. So then as we go up, you want to add less brown. So it's, oh, got green in it. Less brown will make it a little bit lighter. So we'll add a little green in with that olive green. I'm going to add that in there. Make it lighter. And kind of push it up in there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, it's just kind of where the shadows are going to start. And a little more green. Oops, that's a lot of green, but we're just going to blend it right in. There we go. Now I would definitely want all my canvas covered, so I'm going to go back over some of this. Shoot, need a little brown. Okay, make that dark. Something like that. I'm guessing now if you have the tracer down, you know exactly where the blue ends, but we're just guessing. Okay, so oops, got something on there, darn it. Okay. Get that off of there and blend that back in. Okay, so now you kind of got a bluish greenish below the orange. And now we're going to go back to the fan brush, and it's washed and I'm drying it out. And we're going to use a little bit of the yellow and orange again. And let's just kind of bring it a little bit up through here, kind of into the blue a little bit more orange, into the blue. What we're trying to do is kind of, so it's all grown together. You know, it doesn't look unnatural, or there's not a big line of, you know, where the blue meets the orange. And take them down here just a little bit with the orange. Then I'm going to go ahead and dip into my olive green, and I'm going to do the same thing with the green. Just kind of put it up through here a little bit. And just kind of random strands of grass. With the olive green. Kind of, oops, that's a little wide, but that's all right. If you don't like it, you can go over it with blue. And kind of just, I'm just putting in random strands of grass here with the olive green. And if you go over it a few times, of course, it'll blend with the blue and it kind of goes away, which is nice. And then it just kind of, you know, disappears in there. So I'm going to rub that into the blue a little and go back over it. Like, oops, a little bright green there, up here. Okay, so get it how you want it to look. And then what we'll do is we're going to go to our round brush, which has been rinsed and cleaned. And I'm going to dip it into the olive green. And I'm just going to give myself some leaves. I'm just going to start like this, give myself some leaves and kind of make it blend into the blue, or big long stems or leaves, whatever you want them to be, just randomly. So they kind of grow like right down one side like this. Oops, like this. And then maybe a little over here. And then maybe I'm just using the point of the brush. And some over here. Just kind of a brighter color in spots. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is take this same brush and I'm going to rinse off the same round brush. I'm going to rinse it off and dry it out. And I'm going to dip into the yellow and the orange and I'm going to blend it together. And let's give a few flowers. Just touch the canvas randomly. So the flowers on the picture kind of grow down this way, and we will add stems as well. Different sizes. Oops, run out of paint here. Different sizes. Orange. And kind of spread out a little bit. And maybe over this way just a little. And just kind of little things in the grass. All right, not too many. And then I'm going to rinse that brush out, the round brush. I'm going to go to the olive green again. And I'm going to kind of flatten the brush a little bit and kind of connect these guys with a little green. So it looks like they're actually attached to something. Just kind of a little green in between and down from there. So you have some little flowers in the grass. And now, let's see. The only thing I'm not fond of is this up here. So I'm going to take my yellow and my orange. And I think I'm going to go in here and kind of brighten this up a little bit up in here. Kind of go over it because, see, it doesn't make it disappear because the yellow is kind of translucent here. And I'm just going to kind of scrub it in a little bit up here. I don't like that darkness. Okay. Yeah, I like that much better. It looks more like it's out further away. So now, let's see. I think we might be far enough because I moved since we moved the lion down from here, that's just a little yellow and orange. And I picked up some blue somewhere, which is fine. And let me do a little more yellow. I don't like that after all. So we're going to scrub that in. So you can kind of make it anything you want to. It actually looks like another tree out there, which is good. Yeah, something like that. And it's kind of all blended together. The grasses are growing here. With the grass, it's kind of all soaking in together. So I'm going to clean my fan brush and I'm going to get a little more of the bright yellow. And let's see about using bright yellow. I think bright yellow. We're going to try it. Just barely touch it on the brush. I have barely little. I'm just going to add a little yellow through here. So it kind of shines in this area. I'll take a little red. Maybe I'll make this area darker. just to give it a little personality so it doesn't look quite so, it's hard to see, it's so bright. Let me see. Yeah, I kind of like that. So now we're gonna rinse off our brushes, and I'm gonna rinse off everything really good, and then we're gonna use our round brush and we're gonna outline the lion real quick and see where he's gonna be at on here. I had to take a break, and I came back when it was dry, and I realized that I would really like to do something here. So I'm gonna get a liner brush, which is kind of like this, the long thin brush, and I'm going to get some blue, some of the Phthalo Blue, just a little, and the white, and I'll show you that in just a second. A little white. Now, what I want to do is, the lion's going to be like this, but I don't want this going around the lion. You know, this needs to look a little more natural anyway to me. Shh, Caesar. Okay, my dog's going to start howling, and I apologize. I'm going to dip it in the white and just a little blue. I want it to be blue, but not really dark blue. Kind of a baby blue. Kind of like that. Shh, Caesar, Caesar, Caesar. Oh, don't start howling. Okay. You get your brush really wet and you dip it into the blue and you twist the brush around the circle. Sorry, I'll be right back. Okay, we're going to try again. Uh-oh, they're going to stay. Wait till I turn this on. Okay. So I'm going to take it. I want to add a little light blue in spots that grow up this way, right? Take it into a different direction, like this, all different directions, so that it's not just growing up and around, okay? So when we put the lion in, it looks more natural. And that's about it. Okay. So now that we've got a little bit of light blue kind of making it grow up instead of curved, we're going to attempt to put the lion in. So I'm going to use that same liner brush with a little bit of white, just a little. And now let's look. So his eye is about the top of the first quarter right here, which puts it right here. Let me think about this. So I want to move him down a little, but not all the way. So let's put him about right. Let's put him about right here. Okay. So his eye is in about the second quarter. Let's see. Right here. And almost straight down from the first third that we drew. Oh, did we draw thirds? So I went quarters down the side here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thirds, 1, 2, 3. So he's at about, the point of his eye is about where these two meet, right here. The inside line of his eye. Okay. Now, from here to, let me see, let's go, if this, corner of his eye, the width of his head, let's see. Alrighty, so his ear comes up about a third of the way down and almost there. There's the point of his ear, right? Then it comes down like this. And it makes a triangle to where his hair starts about right here, right? Then you go the same distance to the right, and the top of his ear is almost the top, and it's right here near the third. So it should be about just diagonally up from this ear up here, top of his ear, okay? So this is his eye. His nose goes out further than his ear, and it's about midway between the 1/3 line and the 1/4 line here, a little higher. So there's the quarter line. So maybe right here is his nose. just the tip of his nose. And then his mouth, right? So his mouth comes, his chin ends at the quarter mark, right about here. So his nose comes like this. And his nose is about the same length as his chin. So it's there and then like this, right? His chin comes a little further out, comes further out. So there's his chin. Wait, let me get some white. Sorry. Okay. Get some white paint here. If I have any I can use. Let's see. Okay. White paint. So let's put his chin about right here. Alrighty. And then his eye from the center, right? About right here. It comes out a little further than that and down to the tip of his eye like this. His ear is pointed like this and gets lost in the fur. And then it goes down beyond his eye like that, right? So that's going to be fur. Then we've got his ear is here, and we know that is the outside of the ear ends at about the same place the other one does here, so about midway. So it's out about a third of the block. So here's about a third of the block up and straight across from the bottom of that ear. So it's going to make a circle like this, and then like this, kind of. And we'll fix all this. Okay, now we just want the basics down here. So here's his ear, and this is his forehead, right? And his eye is kind of like a triangle, kind of like this. Then we've got his nose. So his nose starts from the center, right here, right by his eye, and down to, oops, I messed up, didn't I? I got the point of the nose is right there. So let's do it this way. Comes this way. That'll be fur. Okay, and then his nose, his chin, and his mouth comes almost to the center and close to the line about right here. Okay, and then hair is up here. His forehead goes almost all the way to the ear. Then hair comes from here all the way around. Okay, so here's his mouth, his nose. It's kind of, his nose is here, kind of round, kind of comes in, and then up, and then like this. So I'm just drawing his nose here, and the shape it should be. Okay, now it should be pointing down, straight down. It's a triangle. So we'll make it a triangle like this. And then this is part of his face, his mouth. And this is part of his mouth. And it goes down and then up into like that. Okay. His eye is here. His eye is here. We might have to cover that. Oh, that's going to be hair. And then circle here. This is his forehead and fur. And his ear is there. Now this comes right out of his ear, and it kind of goes, swirls down to about the fourth quarter right here. Right almost to the middle. So let's go fourth almost to the middle, and we're going to swirl it up. Okay. Then, let's see. So almost to the fourth here, and then this one goes from about midway, and it goes all the way up to his chin right here. So let's see if it's long enough here. There's his face, his eye, his nose. Okay. His fur will come out like this and cover this, right? And let's give him a bigger chest here. So it's going to come down like this. Okay, and he'll have fur here. This is part of his mane, and it's going to disappear in here. Then the next part is right here. Okay, let's see. So now let's kind of get an idea about where his eyeball is. So there's the middle, and there's the first quarter. So it starts right about here, I think. Straight down from there. Okay, so if that's his eye, and this is his eye, it actually comes down a little bit further. So here's his eye, kind of like this. Right? A little more round. And the other eye is right here. Yeah, that's a really good start, actually. Okay, so now we've kind of got him figured out. Kind of funny looking, isn't he? And we'll see if we can make it work. I hope so. Let's see, his chin, his mane is really super long. Okay. Alrighty, so let's get started on our lion. I'm going to start with, I'm going to get my 1/2 inch fan brush. And I tell you what I need is we're going to use dark brown. So let's start with dark brown. And we're going to look at this. So this is the first part of that first mane that he's got, right? This will have a shadow. And then he'll have another part which comes from up here all the way around to here, and then all the way off the canvas. So his shoulder is really kind of like this. Okay, we're going to take our brush, we're just going to drag in some fur-like strokes. I'm just putting it on the canvas and just dragging it. Let's get some little brown fur. We're going to cover this up. And we definitely want to get rid of that line. We want the brown there, but we'll get rid of that line. I'm going to fill this up with dark brown. And, you know, it kind of grows like this. So I'm kind of just arching it out a little bit. Give him that full chest. And I'm going to take that brown and I'm going to mix it with some of the orange. And we're going to go ahead and put some orange in here. And this will give him another layer. Cover up some of the canvas with it. Brown and orange. And then on the orange, this is kind of more bright here because this touches the sun, and then the rest does not, so it can kind of be orangish brown. We can make different lines, different colors, just so you're putting in the fur now, right? And this is just orange and brown. Some is more orange than other, and it's just very random. Oh, I turned my brush over because the other side had paint on it too. And orange. Okay, and that's kind of gray, so let's do some orange down in here. And then orange right here, kind of show different layers that he's got. And then up here. And then right here. Oops. The heck. Okay. Right. So that's a good start. Now the next level, we're going to start with dark brown. And we're going to start right by his ear, about halfway up. We're just going to make a brown line here. It's going to be a shadow. And we'll take that shadow all the way around. I'm using my same brush, the same flat brush, fan brush. We're going to take it all the way around here. Okay, so there's a little shadow that kind of ends sprayed out in the bottom right here. Right? Then this part starts from here and it kind of goes like this. And we're going to drag it a little to the right and arch it. Right? This is just the bottom color. And to the right and arch it down. And this goes off of the canvas. And it goes all the way to about his shoulder. Right about here. And then it comes back down. This is still dark brown. I'm just filling in the shadow right now of his mane. And it goes down to about right here, which that will be brown. So it fills into about right here. Okay, and there's your dark browns. Okay, now we're going to take a little bit of orange blended with the brown, just like we did before. And this time they're a little thicker. So this is actually going to be like little hairs, right? Little strips of hair. So what we're going to do is get some dark brown, some orange. Oh, shoot. Dark brown, orange, and white. So we're going to do kind of thick layers. I'm mixing a little dark brown with the orange and make it more orangey. And we're going to do like thick little strings of hair, right? Random, thick little pieces of hair. Orange and brown. Those are kind of dark. As this is that second layer. So we're just going to do orange and brown, and I'm just dragging it from this point down into thick lines, right, like this. As you get lower, the hair starts to turn this way, so we use this and we're going to go this way. Right? And actually it goes kind of up like this. And then it kind of goes down like this. So it meets about right here off his chest. Okay, so there's a second layer. You can kind of tell the difference there. So we're going to use dark brown, and let's go ahead and we're going to put in that thick line right there that separates the two. It's a shadow. Now we are going to take I rinsed out my brush, and we're gonna take some orange, and let's put in his top knot here. I'm just dragging the brush on the side straight up to put in these orange hairs. There is still a little brown on my brush, which is fine. And this goes all the way up in here by his ear. And then over his ear like this. Like it's coming out from behind the ear and into the mane. Okay? Now we have a dark brown line. I'm using my same brush. We have a dark brown line all the way from here to the tip of his nose. Okay? So now we know that the orange can start here. You can bring it up with the brown. And we know it sticks up and then it starts to curve right. Now over here, this is kind of behind his head, but we're gonna use a little bit of orange. Sorry, that's brown. I'm still not cleaning my brush, but let's use a little orange and get some orange hairs up through here to his other ear. Like that. Then his ear has a line, a brown line from here to here, kind of a shadow line. And then we're going to do orange from his shadow line on out from his ear. And it goes right behind the eye and comes down to here. Okay, so now we've kind of got the hair in place a little bit. So the ear on the right hand side, might be your left hand side. Oh, I just spilled orange paint. Okay, so the ear actually has orange hair that comes up and then out. Right, so we need orange, orange, orange. Like that. Curves out, and then this is a little smoother and starts going around in a circle and ends there. Right? It's a circle. Now the middle of the ear, let's go ahead and get out, I think, some black. I don't like using black that often, but I'm going to. So I wiped off, I cleaned off my brush. And let's get out some black paint. Okay. Now, the black paint, this is just Mars Black. And we're gonna take, I'm gonna take my, my round brush. Wait. I got a round brush here. I'm going to take my round brush like this, and I'm going to dip it in the black, and I'm going to put in his ear. So his ear is really black in here, all the way down to about here. Right, so it's like this. And then it's higher in the back. Like this, and it comes down to there. Okay, so now we know where that's at. We can go ahead and put in a little of the black shadow behind here. I am just putting it down on the canvas and touching it from the ear back like it's a shadow from his mane or to his mane. Okay, just a little black so it's darker. And I'm going to go ahead and take that same black and kind of go down this way a little bit with it and out. So I'm kind of going down and out with it to give it a little bit more shadow because we're going to add some more paint to that mane. Okay. Now I'm going to take that same round brush and let's get some orange and white. orange and white, and let's do a few hairs in here. I'm dragging it from the black, which is fine. I'm just pulling out, 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 out. Oops, didn't want the black, too much black in there. Okay, so I got a little too much black in there, but we'll fix that in a little bit. And then we want to take that round brush, we want a little white, and let's go ahead and tip that ear with, just touch the canvas just a little, rough it up a little bit right there to show that the ear is there and it's highlighted. And like that. Okay, so that's kind of highlighted for now. Then we will take the white. Now let's take the same round brush and let's get some black. And let's go ahead and outline the nose. So the nose is round here. And then it goes up and over and up this way. And then it goes down to here. All like a triangle. Then this way. And about half of it is black. Like that. And then like that. Then the other half, we're gonna take a little dark brown, a little white. And we'll put this on this side. Let me do one more layer, a little lighter. Yeah. So I got a little white in there, and that's okay too. Okay. So we kind of got his nose in place. And now I'm taking that same round brush, I'm going to roll it in the white so I have kind of a tip on it. And let's do straight down. What slight arch is going to be this little part of his mouth. And it goes like this. Little triangle, right? So we'll pull that off to the side. I need more paint. And now we're going to pull it off to the other side from right there. And it kind of goes down. Right, like this. It actually goes down rather than up. So we're going to go down. And then like this. Okay. Now, I'm going to rinse the brush. I just kind of wanted to know where the mouth was. That's just me. So let's take, let's take some white. And let's just put some white in here. Just little lines of white. Make sure you cover all the orange or the background if you have it there. Get rid of that line. I'm just dabbing it. And then the same way with the chin. We're going to take the chin and go out in a kind of like in a circle. And I'm going to dab it so that it's kind of roughed in there. Just kind of like hair. And dab it. I'm trying not to get any lines. Okay, so the chin stops about the end of the eye. So about right here is the chin. Then let's go ahead and grab some orange for now. And let's kind of draw this in a little bit. this goes in here. Just under that black, right next to those chin hairs. And then it goes up around the side here. Just trying to get my parameters here, okay. And then up into here a little bit is orange. So let's take orange and we're gonna go up into here a little bit. Let's go to his nose and then out. And we will blend that with white shortly. I'm just kind of trying to place everything right now. Oops, got some brown. That's all right. And this comes down like this. Actually comes down like this. So it comes down here and back up here. And maybe a line like this is orange. Okay, so there's the orange. So it kind of cuts his face like that. And I'm gonna mix a little white with the orange and fill this in again. I'm just gonna dab it. I wanna get rid of those lines that are there. And we'll redo it too. Okay. Now the white is actually around his nose and then into the orange. Okay, so let me clean my brush. And I'm going to get some more white. And I'm going to make this white. Yep. We might have to redo this one a little bit. So the white goes about there. Now there is an orange point here where it comes down from here. It kind of makes a triangle. And it's more orange. Okay. So now the nose, I think I've got the nose off a little bit. So it comes like this and then goes straight across like that. Okay. Then around the nose is white. So I'm gonna wash my brush. I'm gonna get some white and let's go around the nose here. And then kind of up a little up here. Kind of drags the white up a little bit. Okay, now he's looking more like a lion that he is. Now let's go ahead. Let's work on the eye. So I'm going to take that same round brush. Actually, I'm going to take that liner brush, the real thin liner brush, and I'm going to get some, get some black. And the eye over here has it's a triangle. Kind of goes out like a circle. And then it comes back in like this. And we are just going to paint that black for now. Need a little water. And we're going to paint this in black. And it kind of comes down to a point there. And then he's got some eyelashes. Then he's also got a line. Oh, that's going to be orange. We're good. So now the other eye is straight across. Off a little bit. And it kind of goes. Has a little line like this. And then you have the black eye with black eyeliner. And then black eyeliner. And it is more of arch and then down like this. and the bottom is more rounded. So then this comes off of the eye. This little black part comes off of the eye, and it kind of turns gray into here. So we will fix that later. Just trying to get the face right. Okay, now we're gonna clean the liner brush real good. We're gonna dip it in white. And the eye, I just want to kind of give it where it's gonna be. So this is under the eye, and it comes out like this, and up, it's thick here. Alrighty, and then up here, you have some hair coming out. And we'll have to redo this because we'll have to put the orange in around him, but I want to kind of get a feel for where he's at here. Okay, now let's go back to the fan brush and let's get some orange. And the orange starts at the nose, and we're just gonna drag it up the nose on this side of that brown line, right? And it goes up a little bit and then up this way. And it just kind of stops right there. It doesn't really blend in, it just kind of stops. Then we're gonna mix it with just a little white, and then up here we can put in we're just gonna drag this little fan brush up here, give him a little fur here. And let's give him a little more white. It's not long fur, it's like short fur. So let's just touch the fan brush to the canvas so it's like short little spots instead of long. And then it goes up over his eye as well, the orangish white. It goes up over his eye as well. And the rest, we're gonna get a little orange and brown, make it just a little darker over the eye so that you can tell that's his eye. Okay, then, okay, so I found something. I'm gonna use the round brush and some white, and his nose really comes in like this, and then like this, and let's make this a little thinner, like so. And it should be straight across. So let's come up this way. Let me get his nose squared away here. Comes up straight like this. Then I'm going to use the black, and it goes down and then up. Okay. But oops, let me clean off my brush and look at this a little bit. Let me get some okay, white. And let's finish this off here. And the chin. And let me get some dark brown. See, now you're seeing this. This is the first time I've ever painted it. So now you see what it's like. It doesn't always work as planned, but you have to just kind of fix it on the fly. Now I see where I kind of messed up here. I want to make the eye a little smaller. So I'm going to grab some orange on my round brush, and let's pull the orange from here. Yeah, that's going to we'll make it smaller. Let's dip it in some white. Try to get rid of some of that black here. The eye should be about that big. And we're going to pull the orange hair out. And it goes down to about here. And we'll just have it stick out a little further, and that's fine too. It's just his mane. So I'm just gonna pull it out a little bit, and that's a little better. And then I'm gonna take some of the orange, and we're going to start, let's see, about right here. He actually has kind of an arch. So we're gonna go here. I'm just dabbing and pulling the orange up from the little midline there to his eye. And then we're going to take the orange and we're going to smooth it out from his eye. Just smooth it out just a little bit from his eye up so it doesn't look like hair sticking up there on his eye. And then we're going to get a little white, and let's put some white up here into the orange just to highlight a little bit. I'm just touching it, just pushing it down and pulling just to mix in a little white with that orange to make it stand out just a little bit. Then I'm going to go into the dark brown, and we're going to have to rebuild this line. So his mane, so this is a line, it's like a shadow that separates the mane from his forehead. Okay, now let's do his ear while we're there. I've got my brown on my brush, and let's do like this and bring his ear down with the brown and right here. And then we will fill that in with a little orange, up, little hairs going up and down to show that it is the tip of his ear on the other side. Okay, now, and we'll go back over that too. So we're gonna blend a little orange and white, and let's do the highlighted hairs coming off his ear here, and his highlighted hair that comes out from here. So he's got some sun on this side, so we'll follow it down. Okay, he's got some sun, and it's sticking out a little bit, blend it in. Okay, so now his eye looks a little better, and then we're going to, let's see, I think I need to cover that up. So let's get some orange, and we're gonna go from here to here. And let's cover this little spot right here, because this is where this really starts. Okay, so we've got the orange up in there, and you can tell it's separate. All right, now I want to pull a little bit of the orange hair this way. Keep it away from that line, just right to that line of that forehead. And I just blended it in with my finger. And we'll have to go back over that a little bit with something here in a moment. Let's see. Now, what I've got is I've got some red ochre. So I'm going to take the red ochre and I'm going to give him these thick hairs from his mane coming out here from the black. And just random. He's got some thick mane up in here. All right, and just random mane. It's just gonna be like hairs. Now I got a little orange in there, which is great. And we'll just cover this up here. He's just got some thick hairs. And up here, we'll just kind of span them out a little bit thinner, but they're all real thick going down. And as you get going, they'll get a little thicker. And then we'll make this curve, and they'll come down like this towards the front, and like this towards the front. And then they come down like this and up, right? So it kind of curves around his neck and his chest area here. Okay. Now I'm going to take some of the dark brown and kind of fill in these areas up here where it's touching that red ochre, kind of blend it in just a little bit, so it doesn't look like such a line, such a dramatic line. So I'm just kind of rubbing it in here. Okay. And give him some more hairs here. We'll rub it around his ear, that shadow. Okay. So now I got a good start there. Now I'm going to take the fan brush right here, and I'm going to use a little dark brown, just a little. So we're going to take the dark brown and we're going to start doing this part right here. So this actually starts from his ear and comes this way, right? And it comes almost straight down like this. Okay, and then as you're coming down, it curls, and we'll get to the curls when we do the top coat. And then it comes down here, and everything comes to a peak down here. Okay, and this will end up being red. It's going to come from right around his chin all the way down this way. And this kind of goes to almost his chin. We're going to leave a little space in there. Okay. And this goes, actually, let's fill that space all the way under his mouth to his chin. Okay. Perfect. So now this is part of the front mane here. I'm just going to fill in that orange here, or the background a little bit. Okay. Good. Now let's get the orange. While I still have brown on my brush, I'm going to get the orange. And we're going to come out from his eye, and we're going to go just some like this. And all the way to here. And then back down like this. And just stroke it down. And we're going to get a little more orange. And put it here, so that's his cheek. And we get a little dark brown, and let's put that up in here just a little bit. And I want to go ahead and lighten that up. So let's clean our brush. We get a little bit of orange on the end of the brush, and let's just lighten this up just a little. We're going to start brightening things up a little bit. And it goes over the dark brown, just a touch. And then it comes under the dark brown and starts again. Okay, like that. And then the mouth will be dark. So we're gonna get I'm gonna get some dark brown on that same brush, and it kind of goes from here to here. Kind of makes a shadow there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get some orange, and we're going to do some heavy thick stripes here. And what happens is they curve kind of around hugging his face a little bit, and then as you go they kind of curve up, and then down here they curve up again. And over here, that's going to be curving out. And down to the point. So this kind of goes like this. I'm just blending it a little bit, just so it's not so bright. And there's a good start to that. Okay, so now we've got a good start on all the mane. And let's finish that up right there, okay. Alrighty, so now we got a good start on the mane. That's gotta dry. So let's take our liner brush and let's dip it into orange. And let's do the eye. So the eye is pretty round. Pretty round. Kind of like that. Oh, I don't want the black though. Okay. Now I'm going to rinse my brush. I'm going to grab some black. And the black goes, his lid kind of comes up and then flattens out just a little bit there and then down. And I'm going to take a little bit of black again, and we're going to fill in this spot and this spot. Okay, now let's take some brown. I washed my brush, sorry. And let's go ahead and blend. I'm kind of going from the inside out, just a little bit of brown, dark brown. See that? We're going to blend it in. It's just going to give the eye a little more like an eye. And you're going to take a dot of black and you're going to put it up here because he has his eye half shut. And like that. And let me get this little more around here. Okay, now over the eyelid, he's got like dark brown, and he's kind of got an eyelid like this. So I'm just doing a dark brown line over his eye, and then get just a little bit of white on that same brush, and let's put right next to his eye. Kind of blend that into the brown a little bit. And then I'm going to get the dark brown again and go above the white. Should have done the white first. So he has kind of an eyelid. And then let's see. Trying to see what we can do that doesn't need to be. Okay, some dark brown. I've got dark brown. And this has a little line going to his eye here. And this needs to be a little more pronounced, this brown line, which goes all the way down to about right there. Kind of ends almost at the nose. So I'm going to take orange and I'm going to get rid of this rest of this line here that we made earlier. And a little white, sorry. Orange and white, because orange won't cover it. Okay, and I have brown on my brush. Sorry, I'm going to rinse my brush. And I'm going to get orange. And we're going to put orange over the brown, like so. Okay. And then he's kind of got some orange hair that goes up here, kind of blends in. I'm just barely touching it, and I'm just have very little paint on my brush, just to kind of bring out that orange in his face. Okay. So now what I want to do is, let's do his ear. So I'm going to get the little fan brush, and I'm going to dip it into orange, and then I'm going to touch the white. Oops. Okay. I got a little bit of orange and white on my brush. It's kind of a mess. But on the ear, we want the hair to grow up like this and then out. So we're going to make the hair grow out from his ear, make his ear fluffy. I'm just touching and pulling. Okay, and it goes out. Now towards the top it changes. And it kind of starts, I'm putting it on the end, and it kind of starts curving around almost flat instead of bushy. Okay, and then it kind of goes in, it's kind of fluffy. I mean, it's definitely not pristine. Okay. And then we'll do a little more, maybe a little brown, dark brown up in here just to show on this side that it's kind of in the shadow a little bit. Now I'm going to take just white. I have not cleaned my brush, so I'm going to try to get some white and kind of go over the tips of this where we had the white before. Right? And let's see, maybe some orange. This is when you're going to want to finagle with it. Finagle, I'm sure that's a word. And like that. Yeah, I want that kind of brownish. I definitely want it fluffy inside and fluffy outside to here. And I'm just poking it down there. Okay, so there's his little ear. And then you've got a few stray hairs. You know, you've got some stray hairs poking out. So I'm going to extend it out just a little bit with the hair sticking out of the front of the ear like so. And up here. Okay, I'm just barely touching it and kind of dragging the paint and lifting it up. All right, and then the other ear needs some orange, like right here. You want to know that's his ear. And let's do more orange right here. Just because the other one, oh, this goes inside. Just because the other one is so orange, I want it to realize those are both ears. Okay. So now there's a nice little, let's rinse out our brush. And I'm going to get the liner brush again. Where's my liner brush? I'm going to get a liner brush, and I'm going to get the orange. And there's like a little triangle right here on his face. It kind of goes like this. Like a mark of orange right by his eye. And then there's a little bit of brown around it, kind of like this. Thin line of brown. And then it kind of blends into the orange. So I'm barely touching it. And now let's add a little bit more orange to that. Okay. Now the white, I'm rinsing off the brush, and I'm going to get some white on my liner brush. And let's just do these a little bit better here. The hair. I'm just touching it and pulling it with white on it. Oops, I didn't want that there, but that's okay. And then underneath, a little more white. And then this is pretty smooth here, but it's still hair or fur. And then underneath, like this. And I'm just barely touching it with the white, making it rough. Okay. And then we've got, let me see. Got a little brown that comes down from here, like so. And then it kind of makes this mark right here, which goes into, getting ready to go into his whiskers. So that's a little brown. I'm going to get my brush wet, get a little more brown, and it kind of goes up and curves, and then it pulls down a little bit into here, and then it kind of disappears. I mean, it's like just a little bit of brown there. And it goes all the way to his whisker, like so. So everything beyond that There's some brown right here that kind of makes that line. And then we've got some orange and brown mixed, which fills in up here. Just a light touch. And then down here and down below, it kind of curves like this, curves up and down, right? Towards his mouth. Let's get a little more orange. Like so. And then up here it starts going the other direction. So it's, you know, you have hair going all sorts of different ways. Okay, so there he is so far. Thanks to the magic of video, I was able to stop this for some family things, and it's been 3 days. So this is hard dry. And that's okay too, because we'll go ahead and this is just the bottom layer anyway. We've got the face, you know, working pretty good. I know it's already been a couple of hours on video, so let's go ahead and get started. This is really that, it is not, it looks pink and it's really red ochre, and for some reason on my video it's looking pink, but it is red, and I'll try to make sure the color changes to the right thing. So I do want to work on his face a little bit, so I'm going to use a 1/2 inch flat, and let's use some, I got a plate too, bright orange, and let's try this bright orange and mango, and let's kind of bring, because this is really his head right through here. Right, that's really part of his forehead. So let's bring that color in here too. And I'm just touching it and picking it up so it leaves like little, you know, looks like little hairs. Kind of get that in there just so. And we'll do that. I'm just bringing some hairs in and pushing it back a little bit so it just kind of blends in a little better. Up here, I think we'll take the hairs and we'll go up maybe. So that it's just his forehead. He doesn't really have anything that really sticks out, but we definitely want to make sure that his whole head looks correct. And that was just kind of hanging out in there, and it was bothering me whenever I looked at it. So we're gonna leave that. Let's go ahead and let's start again from the bottom up, because this goes underneath. This is really the back layer. This falls on top, and then his big mane falls on top of the fill-in back here, his other part of his mane. Let's use, I think, raw sienna. And again, I'll put all this in there too. And I'm going to take the same 1/2 inch brush. There's my raw sienna. And I'm just going to get a little bit of paint on the end of it. And let's see what color this looks like. Okay. So down here, this is really just his shoulder, and he's just got fur. So this isn't part of his mane, but we kind of want to show different layers of fur. So I'm just touching the canvas, pick it up. See how it kind of leaves a little bit of hair. There you go. That's better to see now. Oops, a little thicker, which is fine. I'm just going to go ahead and put this in here. We're going to kind of lighten him up a little bit. The giraffe is really, he's got dark colors, but he's really bright. So I kind of want to try to make the lion with these next layers. I want to make him look a little brighter to match my giraffe. And again, it doesn't have to match exactly. I just kind of wanted to make it look like they're from similar areas. So we'll put some fur in here, and we will probably add in a little more. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that brown, the raw sienna, mix it with a little of the mango. Let's see if we can even brighten that up. Well, probably need a little more raw sienna in there, make it a little darker. But if we can just get his fur in, it'll help make a big difference. And this isn't really, even though it's I'm getting more mango and raw sienna, and even though this is just his shoulder, we definitely want to show that, you know, that's part of his body, and show it with some fur. And I am just pushing and pulling just to kind of give it a little texture. And it does kind of look like fur in there. So we're gonna leave this and we're gonna see what happens. And we might want to touch it up a little bit later. Let's see what it looks like when we're done. So now I'm gonna take that same raw sienna. I hope you can see that. Let me get it so where you can see it. Okay, so I'm gonna take the same raw sienna and let's look at it in this part of the mane. So up here is when things kind of change, and he's got thicker pieces of fur up in here. And it's not all the same, it's not all the same thickness, and I am just literally putting it on the canvas and pulling. And at the end, I just pick it up to give it a little bit of a textured edge there. So this is going to be, so this is going to be the under part of his mane. It's actually, part of his mane, but it's the lower part. And so I'm just going to have the fur going different directions. And you're gonna hear my dogs barking, sorry. And let's see, this part of the mane actually goes down to about right here. And we're going to try to separate it out a little bit. And I'm gonna have to let my chihuahua, you can let him in, Scotty. He'll bark until we let him in here. Sorry. And do it like this. We'll give it a little bit of texture. And again, with the raw sienna, we'll go to the right side here. We're gonna try to cover up all that, what looks like red, pink to y'all. Not all of it, let some of it show through, just so you see the different layers. And sorry about my dog. Okay, I'm gonna go this way, and I am literally just like making little S's and bringing it in here. And what we'll do is, now it's looking a lot better. So what we'll do is even add one more layer on top. Probably we kind of want that to go behind the ears where it starts. And then it blends in to the top where it really gets orange from the sun. And there we go, like something like that. Thank you. And he's trying to get all the dogs out so they don't bark at me. So we'll do this. So now we're still gonna, he can stay, it's all right. So then it's gonna kind of cover it. So now you can see where that the red ochre is underneath, but now you can start to see the real fullness, right? It's looking more full, and it comes down over his shoulder a little bit just to kind of blend that in. You don't want to lose the shoulder, so definitely don't blend all the way into that line there, because you want to definitely know that he's got his shoulder right here. We'll lighten that up a little bit, at least towards the front. So you can tell that the light is coming from this side, so his eyes and his front of his face. So we'll lighten all this up as well. This part of his mane is actually a lighter color, almost an orangey color in the picture. So let's try some orange and mango, and let's get a little bit of the brown here. And let's blend that in. That looks kind of good. Maybe a little more orange. Definitely want an orangey look. And I'm gonna go ahead and put this here, and we'll make this top of his mane up here. And see, it comes down, his face is right there. So you definitely wanna leave his face so that we can finish his face on top of this. So we'll bring it down like this. I'm going right up to the edge of where his cheek is right there. And I'm dragging it down, make little S figures. It can go over the other mane because it is on top of it. And we'll fill it in a little more there. So I know we'll just kind of go out and over a little bit, kind of maybe bigger strokes there. I'm gonna get some more orange and mango and brown. And we'll just, oh, that came out really light, but that's all right. So my mixture was different. And these are little short strokes under his chin. And they blend into the longer strokes here. So do it like this. Now that we're getting towards the bottom of his mane down here that runs into the chest area, we're gonna just bring the S down, and then we'll bring them all out and come down like this. You just push and release, and you get that end that kind of feathers. And I'm just getting some more here. Now my mixture it changes every time I touch it, of course. And so it's kind of nice because it definitely gives the fur much better coloring. I'm gonna go right up to the white. We can fix that white later. We're gonna definitely brighten that up. Some short strokes under his chin, and then back into the long strokes down below. Just lift and release, and there's his full chest. I'm gonna go up just a little further. Okay. And I think because it kind of comes in from behind him, because he's kind of turned a certain way. So we'll do it like this, a little bit of fluff there. So you can kind of see the colors. Up here it's a little darker, which is good because it's not in as much of the light. So the light source is really kind of like this. So his cheek is going to kind of block that area, so it'll be a little darker than down here. So that's looking really good. I'm going to give him some light fur down here. And you know, I'm going to do some long strokes. We're going to make the same color with the brown, orange, and mango. And I'm just going to give him some like longer strokes, kind of fill this in. So it definitely looks like a different part of his body. The mane is very defined, but of course the rest of the fur on him is not. So I'm just going to fill that in like that. So it kind of looks like his shoulder there. It's very smooth. And then the mane comes down on top. And on the mane, I'm going to take a little more of the brown, and we're going to just bring it down in here. And let's push and pull so it feathers into the line of the shoulder area. So the shoulder is still there, but the mane definitely goes over the shoulder. Kind of blends in at the bottom a little bit. And we can make it a little brighter with orange, and we can kind of actually bring it this way. See how it's moving to the left with little S's, and I'm just starting at the top where it starts, like that. So now his mane is wrapping around the front of him like this, around his chest. And it comes to a point down here where it meets the main part of his mane, right here. Now this needs to be on top, so I'm going to take a little bit of orange and mango and brown. I'm going to make it a little lighter, actually, with a little more mango, I think. And let's bring it, and let's make it a little more pronounced here. And then as you come down, you can flip it up, right? Because it's kind of blending in with this mane down here, laying over the top there. We'll bring it out a little bit so you can see how it's pushing forward. And let's make this one push forward a little bit. And I'm just pushing and pulling the paint and putting it where I think it should go, and dragging the brush across the canvas. Kind of like that. So now it's kind of coming forward, which I really like there. And then up here, it kind of goes forward and then down. Into the other one. I did use a lighter mango color here to kind of make it stand out a little more. And then over here, this comes out. And this is on kind of coming from the other side. And then we'll cover it here. Like so. So this one came down and over right here. And then up in there. And it kind of blends it together. So now I'm going to take a little bit of the orange, just the orange. And I know it's crazy. We're going to put it in here. And we're going to show where it blends in up here. Kind of comes to a point. So I am on the very edge of the paintbrush, and we're just pulling it down to make it meet right here. And fluff out his chest a little bit, because that makes him look, I think, a little tougher. And we'll use a little more orange. And I'm just bringing it all down. So we're just coaxing all that mane to come forward a little bit. And I don't like that right there, so we're going to put a little orange on it. So if you don't like anything, you don't like the color or the look, you just paint right over it. And The back side is a little darker than the front, but I think I might need to add a little. We're gonna add a little of the brown and the orange. Let's make it a little more orange. And let's go up here and let's kind of bring out some, maybe a top layer here just of random hair or fur. And not a whole bunch, just kind of just to highlight it a little bit down here. And we'll bring it forward. Everything on him kind of comes forward. And I think it just helps bring out that chest a little bit. Yeah. So we're there. And cover that. So the top is more, the top of his head is more orangey to match more of the mane down here because it's all kind of part of the same. So I'm going to use the orange and the mango and just leave, my brush is still dirty. And we're going to just kind of brighten this up here like so. I am just putting the brush flat against the canvas and going up and releasing. That's all I'm doing with flat brush. And it comes out of here. And of course, see, it looks like the hair sticking up here. And we'll add a little more orange to it too. But for now, I kind of like the orange mango where it's brighter. And this is his forehead on the other side, so we want to be careful there, and then around his eye. And let's take a little orange and brown, and we're going to go over this a little bit more, just so there's a nice mixture of fur coming out of his, around his head. Okay, and then in front of his eye, it comes out from in front of his eye. Okay. So now it's kind of the same color of his face. So let's go ahead and put in a little, just the brown. And let's kind of go make it a shadow. I'm just barely touching the canvas. Kind of giving it a shadow there over the, where his forehead is. And then I'll just kind of scrape the paint off my brush. And let's just kind of pull it up a little like it is a shadow on his, oops, too far down. On a shadow on his forehead. And then, now I have to go put that mango back in to make his forehead. See, went right over it, didn't I? And I think, and I'll put a little, direct that mango up in that brown just a little, but I want it to look like his forehead there. So let's make that a little more orangey to match the other side. I'm just gonna tap it in there, give it a little color, flatten it out a little bit. So now his hair, his mane, you can see where it comes off his head right there, and that's a good thing. So I do believe I'm gonna take a little touch of the brown and orange, and let's go ahead. I kind of filled this in too much, I think. So let's go ahead and make just one more layer of just kind of random marks so that it looks more like the hair's coming out. Maybe a little more right here. And orange. I like the orange. I think the orange just makes everything pop out real nice on him. Something like that. And then back here, we'll start blending the orange into the brown. Just a little bit back up here. And then what we're gonna do is, let's work on, you can't really see this ear back here. I covered his ear, which I think is okay. You know, it's such a small part of it. And up here, I'm gonna take a little bit of the brown, and let's start in the middle and push down and pull up. I'm just gonna give a little bit of texture coming from the inside out. It does not have to be perfect because it is hair. Then I'm gonna take the orange. I have not cleaned my brush still. We're gonna take the orange and kind of blend it in here. Push and pull, give him some, you definitely wanna make sure we see this ear. So we're gonna make it a little brighter orange here. And this is kind of flat, so I'm just gonna pounce that in there. Let it be messy, and down here, kind of fill in the spots that I missed right there that I'm not happy with, and that looks okay in this way. So now, I think what we need to do, this guy's, I'm gonna just give a little more hair. I'm just pulling it out a little bit, and we'll go around this and give it some highlight here in a minute. And this is, I'm gonna go over this little orange. And you know, I think the top part needs a little more mango. Just pounce that in there because you do want to see that. That's part of what's in the light, in the sunlight there, his forehead. And it's just kind of pounced in there. I'm just barely touching it, kind of just making it messy, blending a little over that line because I don't want that line to be totally straight. And then up in here, and then it comes, the hair, the mane comes right from here. So this is where we'll start it, and that's where it starts sticking up, and then it comes off of his forehead, or around his forehead here. Something like that. Now, if we don't like it later, we'll change it, but for now, I like it. Okay, now let's work on his cheek. His cheek is a little dark, so I'm gonna take a little of the orange and the mango, about a 50-50, and a little brown. I don't want it too bright, so we're gonna make it kind of a lighter color, but we're gonna go like this. We're just gonna do what we did before. Push down, pull up, push down, pull up. And we'll give his whole cheek a little lift there. And then this is actually kind of a shadow here to separate it, so it gives the cheek a little depth. So let's make the top part a little more brown. From the eye down, actually from the white down. Leave that brown line. And then you can just kind of pull that down to the shadow there. And we'll blend it in here just a little bit so it doesn't stand out quite so bad. And we'll just kind of blend that all in here because this is all on the same side of his face. So now his face has a little depth so far. I'm gonna take a little brown on the end of my brush, the flat end of my brush, and let's just add that shadow back in. Just brown from his ear. And it goes all the way down under his chin. And then we're gonna take it from the bottom up and kind of drag it into the fur so it doesn't look too bad. Okay, it doesn't stand out all that much. We don't want it to do that. So now we have a nice separation there, but I think I need to take a little bit of the orange and mango and brown. And at the top, we're gonna start, we've gotta kind of blend that in so it's not quite so stark there. I don't like that look. And I like the bright color on his mane. And again, this is just brown and mango. And I'll show some of his mane up on top here that's really moving. And take it all the way down to the point. And then up here, blend it in. Yeah. Yep, and that's a little better. Let's go up here. I'm gonna take a little bit of that chin out. It's a little too strong there. Okay. And we can fix the white when we go at his chin hairs. And a little highlight here. I'm just kind of fixing it where you can mess with it. Problem is you can touch it up forever. At some point you just gotta say, okay, I'm done. So I think that blends in pretty good there from his cheek down. All this is in the light. This is light. We'll highlight his ear and go back over the white and finish his face up real quick. So let's go ahead and wash our brush and we'll get out some white paint. And we'll start on doing the real details on his face. Now that you've got your white, and I have my white or whatever color you're using, I just have a round brush. It's a number 8. And I'm gonna tip the brush like so on the tip. And let's go ahead and we're just gonna touch and pull here to kind of make it look like, and kind of dab it, just so it's got a little texture and it's not perfect. And you can add a lot of paint, a little paint. So there's his chin, it's rough. And up here under his nose, pretty rough there. And I'm just kind of dabbing it a little bit and letting it come out the edge just a little bit so that it looks more like hair. Now we're going to tip it on the edge of the paintbrush, and let's fill in the white up here pretty carefully over his nose. Doesn't have to be perfect. And this I'm just going to touch because it's a little rough. And then under his nose is a thin line. And then this kind of goes blending into the orange here. But I definitely want this to look like fur. So I'm just pushing and pulling with the whole paintbrush. And it blends right into that orangish brown on his face that we just did. Okay, then I think that's a little too far. I'm gonna rub that off just a little bit. And I'm gonna rinse my brush, and I'm gonna go ahead and fix that brown before I go any further. So I'm not real fond of I want this to be, oh, it's gotta be a dark brown. So I'm gonna get out my, it's just called brown. I'm gonna get out a darker brown. So you can use burnt sienna if you want to, and it's a nice dark brown. And I'm going to kind of make sure this shadow comes back in here, and I'm just touching it, making it rough with that dark brown color. I just want that shadow to appear on his face. Make sure that it shows the difference between his cheek and where his mouth starts here. And we'll go down, kind of blend it in there with the white. Okay, definitely want that to be marked, maybe not quite that marked. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some yellow and orange, and let's kind of blend that in with that dark brown here, or actually some of the raw sienna. We'll blend that in here, kind of make it a little bit lighter and not so harsh of a cheekbone. I do want the shadow there, just not real harsh. Okay, we'll smooth that out just a little bit. Oops. Let me get a little more orange. We're just kind of fixing this on the fly. Okay, and down here. And I'm going to make this a little more brown. I'm going to use a little more brown in here to darken that up since it's under his mouth and around his mouth. This actually gets kind of blended in here. So I'm going to use a little orange, and I'm just scrubbing that in to blend that in a little bit. Give it a little bit more of a shape there. And then back to my dark brown. Kind of just blend that back in just a little bit. Okay, and then up here, I'm going to scrub that just a little. Get a little bit of the darker color back in there. Now let's go ahead and take, let me think. I'm going to use the same brush, and I definitely want to fix I kind of like the colors on his eyes look okay. Maybe a little bit more white up in here. Kind of enhance his eyebrows just a little bit up here, because my orange is kind of showing through a little too much there. So it's your painting. You can make him look however you want him to look. So I just touched up the white a little bit, and I'll do the same thing for the other ear with the tip of the paintbrush. And it does need to just kind of be a light on the eyelid. So we're just going to do it kind of like that, and a little bit down below here on his nose. And I think that needs to be orange. So let's change that to an orangish brown right here, because it's really, let's kind of blend that in right there with that line into the top of his mouth. Yeah, that's a little better. Let's use a little more orange. Not that much, just a little orange. Kind of brighten that up a little under his eye to show that that is the rest of his face there. And I think that's looking pretty good. I'll have to let it dry. I think we need I need to smooth this out a little bit more. So I'm going to take some brown and orange, and I'm just going to kind of scrub it a little bit. And this is just the light brown, I'm sorry, the raw sienna. I'm going to just kind of scrub that a little bit because I don't want it to be quite so dark. So it's got very little paint, and I just started up here and I'm just scrubbing it a little bit just to kind of blend it all in there so it's not quite so harsh and it looks more like a shadow. Okay, I kind of like that better. So let's go ahead and take, let's see, let's use the fan brush. And this again is about a 1/2 inch fan brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the white on the very end and a little orange on the end. And very little paint. I'm going to get it all off of there. And then all of this on this side of his face is kind of a highlight from the sun. So we don't want it too white. We're going to go ahead and, this is too white for me. So I'll go ahead and put some more orange in. But we definitely want to show that highlight there. I kind of like that. That's okay. So I'm just touching it and pulling it actually from the side like this. And if you don't like it, you can blend it in with your finger, and that I do kind of like that. So let's get a little highlight down here on the other side that's coming out from his eye area here. And I'm going to rub that in just a little bit so it's not perfect. And I touched that, and that's okay. I accidentally touched the white I just put over his eye, and we just blended that in a little bit. Now I want this to be a little more rough, so I'm going to take the white on my dirty brush and we're just going to kind of blend it in a little bit. I am anyway right here. Kind of make it spread out a little so it's not just a perfect line, because these are, you know, it's just hair and it's just blending into the rest of it, making his mouth. Okay, and there's a little orange in there, so I'm going to get some more white. And I'm going to brighten it up just a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's much better. Now, we're going to let this dry. I'm trying to think of what else. Okay, up here on his ear, we definitely want his ear to stand out. So I'm just going to take, this is my dirty brush with the white and orange and brown and everything on it that I just used. And I'm just going to touch, literally touch the top of his ear. Because you want those hairs to look like they're definitely in the light area, because the light source is coming from upper left. So like this, not too smooth. And then I think we'll take a little bit of the orange on the same brush and a little bit of the brown. Now let's go ahead and blend that, the orange and brown and the white that's already on my brush. We're going to make a light brown. And let's put some hairs moving in here. I'm just touching and pulling. See, I'm touch and pull. And it kind of goes like this. He's got some loose hairs up in here. Yeah, like that. And I push down and up. And twist it a little bit. So his hair looks a little rough around his ear like that. I just touch and pull. Touch and pull, and see, this side of his ear is pretty flat, so we're going to just kind of touch it a little bit, give it a little texture, and bring it all the way down to the bottom here and kind of just texture that just by touching it. And again, it's kind of a white and brown and orange on my brush. And now his ear stands out a little bit, looks fluffy, and that's a good thing there. I think on his, can't decide if I like that color or not, so we're going to let it sit a little bit and we're going to decide. But let's go ahead and add some of his whiskers. So let's get a liner brush out. A liner. Okay, so I've got a liner brush. It's that real thin, smooth one, and I'm going to get some of the dark brown. So you can use burnt sienna, whatever you like, a dark brown. And I'm going to get it dark brown. I'm going to turn it in the paint so I have a nice tip on my brush. Now we're just going to kind of give him the little spaces where his whiskers will come from. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And it comes up here, it kind of gets a little more random. And then down here, it's really not, there's not a lot there. That's too dark. So I'm gonna touch it, kind of blend it in a little. Okay, now, on the other side, there really isn't any of the little spots where his whiskers are coming from. But on the bottom part, I'm gonna take that white with my dirty brush, and I'm just gonna mix it into that dirty brush. And I'm just gonna give him I'm just gonna do little lines here to kind of make it not so white. And then I'll add some whiskers in on top of that to kind of cover that. And you can use gray. I just went with what I had on my brush, and I just kind of want it blended in a little. So when I do the whiskers and do the longer, the thin hairs, you'll see they'll stand out more when we use white. So right now we are going to let that dry a little bit. I'm just trying to figure out what else we need to finish. His nose needs a little highlight, so let's use that. Let's go ahead and use that liner brush, and I'm gonna go ahead and use some of the raw sienna. And let's just fill that in with raw sienna instead. It was dark, but part of this is, half of his nose is in the light. We definitely want to show that light source on there, brighten that up a little bit. It's kind of a weird shape, but you can see that. And then maybe up and over here. Yeah. So that's, now his nose stands out a little bit better for me. I like that better. And let's make sure you rinse your brush really, really good, or get a different liner brush. And let's make it a little thin paint. So we're gonna dip it in the white. My brush is really wet. I'm gonna make this real thin like ink. Now I don't want it running because I really don't want it to drip on here, but I'm gonna bring it to a fine point by rolling it on the plate. And then you're gonna wanna give him some whiskers. So what I do is I put my pinky on the canvas and then find that spot that I made for the whisker, and I'm just gonna draw a whisker out and lift up. My hand's kind of shaking this morning. And of course they go everywhere, so we'll go up and over. Oops, I don't like that. So we'll cover that, and up and over, and up and over. And they kind of go down over his mouth, kind of like this. Just whiskers. I don't like that. I'm going to blend that back in. And then over on the other side, he's got a few whiskers that kind of come out a little bit. Like that. And I'm just touching and pulling to get that on there. And then of course down here, he's got some whiskers, and I'm just going to touch and pull and give this a little more hair down at the bottom here. And up in here, I'm just going to kind of touch it in there, put some solid white in there in random spots, and bring it out beyond the edge here. So he's got his little whiskers on his chin, like so. Yeah. Now what I want to do is, I don't like that whisker. So I'm going to take a little bit of brown and orange that's still on my plate. And let's see if we can make this maybe a little more brown. Just going to blend that in here because I don't like that. Okay. So a little dark brown, just a touch to come up here, kind of blend in there and here. And then a little brown here. And I'm just going over it and beside it, near it, because I do not like that whisker. And that's just kind of, you just have to play with it and figure out the best way it looks for you. If you make if you put, it's not a mistake, but if you put something that you don't like, you want to be able to go back over it, and you don't want to just go, oh, I ruined the whole painting. So you can always go over it. Best thing to do is, if you need to really change it, is cover it with like, let it dry completely, paint over it with gray, and then you can repaint that area, because gray pretty much hides any color. So I'm going to just touch this up down here with my brown and orange. I'm seeing just some areas that don't look like they're covered enough, or like maybe even the canvas is showing through a little. And let's see, that got on the black. I don't like that. So I'm going to go get some of the black. Now we're down to the fine details. Now you can touch it and mess with it forever. So let me get out some black. And I'm going to go ahead and touch up the mouth part here where I did get some, oops, very little bit of paint here. And I'm just barely touching it just to go over the parts that I think need to be refilled back in, because you definitely want to see his mouth. And then draw my lines. And most of you know I can't talk and draw a straight line, but we don't really want it straight, so that's okay. Alrighty. So let's let him dry, and then we're gonna take a peek at him and see what he looks like, and see if we are finished. Hope you're liking it so far. I'll be right back as soon as he dries. Well, for you it'll be 1 second. One thing I found that I don't like is his whiskers in the back. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some white, and I'm gonna go ahead and make these a little longer and more angled down and kind of wild. And I don't want them all going to the same length. Something like that. Let's get rid of this. I don't like that. So let me get some green. Just a little bit of green. And let's just go up in here. And then let me get some of my olive. So now, as I do things I don't like, this is when I start touching it up. And if yours is finished, it's finished. Everyone decides when it's all done, their own painting, to make their own decision. And I think that needs to be a little darker green. So I'm going to get a little bit of brown and mix that with my green here. And let's kind of get rid of this here. And a little darker green, because that's actually at the top of that olive kind of branch, or the flowers that we painted earlier. Put in some green here. And it can be brighter. It is up closer to the sun. And we'll put some over here. Bring it on in so that the colors are all in there and they match. All right, so now I'm gonna let it dry, especially that spot. And we might have to darken that out just a little bit, but right now I'm gonna leave it like it is and let it dry, because everything changes when it dries. And let's see what it looks like. Taking a look at it, and I'm not real fond of his cheek. So I'm gonna get a little 1/4 inch flat brush, and let's just dip it in some orange and mango and brown, and I'm just gonna kind of give this more hair. It's just a little too flat for my taste, and we're gonna put it over that brown, because that's just kind of where it sinks in right there a little bit. Let's make it a little brighter, a little more mango. And let's see how that's gonna look. And a little more mango. And I'm just touching it and pulling it, kind of to make it look a little like fur. And not perfect fur. And then down below, we're gonna make it orange and mango. Oops, I want this a little more orange because it is further down. And I'm just kind of pushing and pulling and putting it wherever. I kind of want it to stand out a little bit. A little different. I just didn't like the flat. It was really flat. So go orange and mango here. A little more mango up here. Now it looks a little better. I'm just going to dab it a little bit. Yeah, that's looking a little better. Something about this right here really bothers me, so we're going to kind of go over that a little bit. Maybe not make it so harsh. Sorry about that. And when I do the tracer, I'll take that part out too. I want it to kind of be darker there to show there is a shadow, but the rest I'm just touching mango and orange, kind of putting in some fur here. Just to show he's got, you know, that cheekbone right there under his eye. Oops. And I'll just use a little brown, little of the dark brown, just a little bit. I do want that there. I like that line. Kind of shows the separation in his nose. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna leave it, let it dry again and see what happens. Now that we've messed with that, I'm gonna get let me get my 1-inch flat, and I'm gonna get a little bit of the mango and white, and let's just barely touch this and kind of highlight this hair coming off of here. Oops. In the front, because it's definitely lighter in the front, and we don't want it to be super smooth hair. Maybe this comes down a little, starts to come down. And I'm just barely touching it and rubbing it on there. And then, and I'm not making it perfect. You definitely want some loose hairs in here. And I'll take the orange and brown again and kind of go back over, kind of blend it in, making it a little rough looking. I didn't like how smooth it looked there. And it does have a little white in there, and that's fine. I'm just kind of pushing it back into the end so it doesn't look like it doesn't belong. These hairs really need to belong. Okay. And he was just looking a little too smooth. And I don't want him to look totally smooth. Okay, so now we've roughed him up a little bit there. Roughed up his hair a little bit. And I'm just kind of making it go forward with a forward motion with a very little bit of paint. Kind of scrubbing it on there. Giving him a little personality here in the front because he is in partial light. And I'll pull it back in. Yeah, I like that a lot better. I wanted that to be lighter for sure. And let's see, what else do we need to do here? Last thing I think I need to do is I'm gonna take that little 1/2-inch flat, and I'm going to make this look more like his chin. So I'm gonna get a little of the light brown and maybe orange and mango, all those 3 colors. And let's just kind of see what, I want to put his chin in under here and let it be seen. So maybe use a little more brown and go up under here, because that's kind of his chin right there. Bring that in here. Make that just a little darker from his chin hairs here. And then, oops, I'll go back over that. Maybe a little orange just to kind of show his chin. There. Now I made his chin a little bigger than the picture, but I think he's in proportion for me. I like him like that, so let me just put a little white dot over that orange that I put there. And yeah, I think it stands out a little more. His chin stands out a little more. It was looking like the hair was not attached to anything, and I didn't like that. Okay, I think the last thing to do is to sign your masterpiece. Take a picture of it and post it and let me know what you think. This is a super long tutorial and it was off the cuff. I've never painted it, just thought I would try it. So if you paint it, please post it. I can't wait to see your work. I'm sure it will look phenomenal. Thank you so much for joining me.